I don't know where we've left off here, and it's gonna be a minute before this even gets out. But I know I explained to you, but I didn't explain it on camera that there's a few game plans that Biden is using. As you can see behind him, he has coined the term Bidenomics. Right. Bold to do because it's just hitting the economic recovery point now, right?
Yeah.
We just barely went there. So I would have waited maybe 6 months to roll out the Bidenomics thing. But also the fact that this is in Pennsylvania as well, after they just look at the road being fixed, you know, like they already had, like they have it in the bag in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
And
yeah,
then
there's no way the GOP is winning Pennsylvania. There's no way.
No way. So
maybe something will come of it. I want to thank
subtitles unavailable. Okay, PBS.
And all the Bucks County officials and their leadership during that tragic time.
1 second. Okay. All right, Skeletor, continue.
We provided all we could from FEMA, but there's a lot to be done. I'm here today to talk about what we're doing to invest in America, invest in Pennsylvania, invest in our clean energy future. To talk about the progress we made building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up. You know, I came to office determined to strengthen.
Middle out, bottom up. So you think that's going to be a phrase he's going to be using?
What would that even mean?
Well, he's talking about middle class, building the middle class out, and the bottom up. Middle out, bottom up. Instead of Reaganomics, which is like trickle down.
Ayn Rand shit. It's a terrible name. It's horrible. It's horrendous.
So it's Reaganomics. But no, Reagan never called it Reaganomics. That's the thing.
Terrible.
In the middle class. I often say, and I mean it sincerely, you know, Wall Street, good folks down there, but they didn't build the middle class. They didn't build America. Middle class was built by the middle class, and the unions built the middle class and changed the economic direction of this country. Because I got tired of trickle-down economics. I've never been a big fan. If the wealthy do very well, I'm a capitalist. I like the wealthy to be able to let people be wealthy. But if the mere fact they do well doesn't mean everybody else does well. I watched my dad growing up. There's not a whole lot of benefit trickle down on his kitchen table as a consequence of trickle-down economics to what everyone from the Financial Times and Wall Street Journal has become my different philosophy. I don't think they started off trying to be complimentary, but they started calling them Bidenomics. And our plans work.
There you go. And I love that, like, you know, for a minute there, I was like, I have no idea what he's saying. But, like, because he's, like, had so much speech therapy with his stutter and he powers through it, if you just don't, like, because you'll see a lot of times, like, people, the Republican stuff will just clip the stutter, right? But if you let him finish the sentence, you come back and you're like, oh, okay, I got it. I'm with you again. But he doesn't let it flub him. He just powers through it. And Trump is the same way.
Yes.
Except Trump doesn't talk about anything. It's crazy.
Bidenomics.
So there you go. He's doing Dark Brandon is what this is. This might as well say Dark Brandon behind him.
We're here. Here's what it looks like. We're 13 million new jobs built across the country, nearly 500,000 of them here in Pennsylvania just in the last 2.5 years. 800,000 manufacturing jobs, 28,000 here in Pennsylvania alone in the last 2.5 years. That's more jobs in 2 years than any president has created in a 4-year term. Unemployment is below 4%, the longest stretch of unemployment below 4% in the last 50 years. We're beginning to come back, folks. Because we're giving workers a chance. Unemployment's down. But to the surprise of a lot of economists, so is inflation. Remember the story? In order for inflation to come down, you got to cut wages for hardworking folks. You got to have unemployment up in order for inflation to come down. Well, guess what?
Yeah, Biden has recently rolled this out where he says he doesn't believe the model that employment has to exist for capitalism to thrive. So he's now rolling out this model where he's like, we're getting rid of unemployed people, basically. We're putting everyone to work, is what he's been saying.
Never bought that. I don't think the problem in America is too many people are working or the people are making too much money. Instead, we focused on getting Americans into the workforce by fixing a broken supply chain, lowering the cost of product from everything from healthcare to the products we purchase. The fact is, companies made record high profits during the pandemic. And by the way, I'm not opposed to companies. I come from the corporate capital of the world. More corporations incorporated in Delaware than every other state in the union. Everybody should.
Why is that, sir?
Share. Everybody should pay their fair share. Now they're coming down, and so is inflation. They need to keep bringing it down, the markups and the margins of the profits. It's one thing to make a profit, it's another thing to be excessive. You know, this is one of the most important ways to continue to make progress on inflation. We have to do more. Inflation has slowed every single month in the last 12, on a yearly basis for the last 12 months. How many times you read that
on a yearly basis for the last?
He tried. He tried. He even tried to correct himself, and he still got. He tried. Monthly basis for the last 12 months is what he meant to say. So. And like, it's not like some people have to spell it out. Where it's like, yeah, you can be able to create that many significant jobs because it's post-COVID, but at the same time, it's already so excessively beyond that it's like, who gives a shit?
A recession's coming. Even in Wall Street today said, no, they don't see a recession coming now. It's the lowest point in inflation, the lowest point in over 2 years. U.S. has the lowest inflation rate of any major economy in the world, the so-called G7. It's less than 2/3 of what it was a year ago. Down from 9% to 3%, and going to go down lower. At the same time, pay for low-wage workers has gone up.
Okay, so inflation's going down. That's great. Are you going to start controlling prices? Because that's the problem. Because once the prices peak, they're not coming back down. Right? I imagine the petrol's still pretty fucking expensive, right?
No, there's still no. There's still a degree. There's still a degree of supply and demand market economy, regardless. You know, so there's going to be a price that people are willing to pay, and you know, you can just think about it. Like, gas is a different story, but like, just think about something like a commodity, right? Where maybe like sometimes, like, you know, you'll see a spike in orange juice because workers strike or something like that. So the orange juice, we'll say it triples in price. Oh, there's the eggs, right? The eggs went way up, actually. So the price in eggs had to come back down as when the supply chain started coming in, because then they need to be able to move units, right? Like, they get to a point where they see that if the price is up, they're making less money in a certain case. It's a case of perfect balance to get the ideal amount of capital.
No, I understand that, but I'm talking specifically in the case of petrol, right?
Yeah,
petrol
it's not though, because the reason they spiked petrol was because less people were buying gas during lockdowns. So they spiked it to recap to get their bonuses for that year.
No. I'm talking recent. Like,
I know.
Ukraine.
I'm saying it did spike already. Like, it spiked a while ago. It hasn't come
down.
Yeah, it has a little.
A little, but it's not. We're back to pre-invasion oil barrel prices. The prices should be back where they were, but they're not, because people will need petrol, and thus the petrol companies can charge literally anything that they want. So it needs to be deemed an essential service. If the government's going to do anything, it needs to be deemed essential and price capped, because these fucking oil companies are fucking us over.
Look,
and pocketing the profits.
This is you got the spike back here in 2020. or 2022, right? So that's the spike. So it's still higher than it was before the pandemic, right? And it is, but still, the point is that it already hit that spike and it is trending downward. And we don't know how long this upward trend is going to go as well. Because this only goes, so it has been going up in the last few months again. So
sure, but like the reason that I harp on the petrol thing so much is because petrol determines the cost of living. Because if petrol is more expensive, goods are more expensive because they're more expensive to move. Therefore, prices aren't going to go down because petrol stays up.
The recession, how much it went down after that.
And like realistically, we should be at that trough before the peak.
Yeah. Well, see, like this is like the Trump admin, this lower hump. But like, I'm not sure if I like told you this, but like a lot of countries like Iraq were really suffering because of his like artificial like pushing oil prices that low. Yeah. So like this is like looks like probably the last standard that we had, because it kind of looks in that range until it spikes in the recession.
Yeah,
so it's kind of in this range. So it should be between,
it should level out.
$2. It should be between $2 and $4. It's like the level price of gas, I'd say, right now.
But that's raw prices. I'm talking barrel prices. Barrel prices.
Yeah, price per barrel. But yeah, I mean, there was like a lot of that like depends on OPEC and stuff.
Yeah, but like my whole thing is that it should be a standard set to the barrel price, right? It should be a relative price based on how much the barrel cost is. That way that these companies can't actively fuck us over while they're pocketing profit.
Well, in theory, the demand economy is what regulates that. In theory.
But I could also have a different experience because Australia has been at $2 a litre for
I also
years.
don't have a car right now, so it's like it's a different story for me. But yeah, gas prices are still also in America. We pay less for gas than like most nations on Earth.
Yeah.
Our gas
and like as soon as just to continue this tangent a little bit, when I saw petrol spike to $2, which is the highest it's ever been, I said, I'm like, it is not going to leave $2 ever again. It's going to stay there no matter how much the barrel cost is, because these people have seen, we can make a lot of fucking money from this. Let's keep it this high. And then the Australian government halved the tax on petrol, I think. And then it spiked to $2 again. They drop it down, reintroduce the tax, and look, it's back at $2.
Yeah, again, at the end of the day, America is a supply and demand economy. So the price is set in both ends at the end of the day. It's just one end definitely has way more leverage, obviously. Yeah. That's the thing is it's like they can dial it back to get it right in to maximize their profits.
Yeah. And that's not going to change.
Over 2 decades, wages are growing faster than inflation. That means a lot of working folks are beginning to be able to have a little bit of breathing room. According to surveys, job satisfaction in America is at a 36-year high. We got more work to do.
That'd be satisfied.
Again, I think job satisfaction is more of like people are like so excited they get out of their house again and actually are interacting with human beings. I
think it definitely has something to do
with it.
Sure,
working age Americans in the workforce is as high as it's been in 20 years, including during every single day under my predecessor. And folks, it's not an accident. It's my economic plan in action. It's Bidenomics. Since I took office, we've attracted over $500 billion in private investment in American manufacturing.
Speaking of this, how I was saying this, might as well say Dark Brandon back here. Did you see the Marjorie Taylor Greene ad?
The ad? No,
it was his ad. It was paid for by the
yes, you showed me that.
ad. It's like up there with like one of the best political ads like in a long, probably this cycle they'll probably be one of the ones that they'll say is the best.
It's a
But
shit post. It's a pure
yeah,
shit post.
and that's the thing is it's like the thing when you look at Ron DeSantis's, they're all like his crew is terminally online, and that's one of his main problems, right?
Yeah.
Like Biden has enough people that they know exactly that Bidenomics is a funny shit post. Like he made a Dark Brandon reference before. Like,
energy. That's what's been attractive to engage in these issues. Instead of an exporting job, used to be find the cheapest market in the world, send the job overseas and bring the product back. Not on my watch. What here we're doing, we're creating jobs in America and we're exporting American products.
Beijing Biden, remember?
With the leadership of your Democratic.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Trump just did an interview where he's going like, "Oh, isn't she great? Everybody loves him. He's so spectacular."
Members of Congress passed the Inflation Reduction Act, although a few Republicans did support it. The largest investment to combat climate ever anywhere in the world. Over $368 billion. We know the urgency. I don't hear many naysayers.
Oh, right there. I understand like he's going for a different crowd right here when he's shifting into the climate, because there's a certain group of people that shut their brains off right when they hear the climate stuff come up, right? But I think that would be better to follow this up with specifically like when he's talking about an investment, it's not just like, you know, people think like they don't really understand like what that's going to be. So you want to like really say like that has to do with the jobs, you know, like we've built factories to build windmills, you know, we're putting in like charging ports for cars. Like he should associate it back in there just so the people who are just like don't care about the climate and think that's just like money being wasted on fake science. Like even if you think it's fake science and you don't care about climate, tying it back into how it's shifting there anyway, because that's what the demand is. People want that regardless of what you have to say about it. Like your gas isn't going anywhere. Your car isn't going anywhere, but the infrastructure is being built to accommodate people who want to make other choices with their dollars. So why not create jobs? Because it's not like you can export these things. You can't export infrastructure, and you also can't export the tech that like you're doing, you know? How do you export literal, like, you know, just putting poles in the ground and shit? You can't.
Oh, really?
The climate deny the floods, heat waves, wildfires impacting so many Americans. Just this week alone, it's just spontaneous. We also have solutions. A lot of my friends in organized labor know when I think climate, I think jobs. I think union jobs, not a joke.
There you go.
Not a joke.
I would have put that ahead, though.
This law is creating millions of good-paying clean energy manufacturing jobs, including offshore wind.
There you go.
When I took office, I set a goal of producing 30 gigawatts.
Nobody knows what that is.
Energy wind by 2030. 30 gigawatts is enough
Gigawatts?
to
There we go.
10 million homes.
What perfect! What a great! His writer is really good. I mean, he's always been pretty good with his own, even though he's like he's slowing down, but he's always been pretty good with his own, even though he has the speech impediment. But
It'll help put us on a path to 100% clean energy by 2035. By 2035, all of electricity you turn in is all going to be clean energy. It's not hypothetical. Construction is already underway in two major projects off the East Coast. And just within the last month, the Department of Interior advanced permitting on two more wind projects on the East Coast. And here in the Philly shipyard, Great Lakes Dredge and Dock is also stepping up to help meet the clean energy goals. Here today, workers in 9 different unions will start building a vessel called a...
Okay, didn't get the S quite out there. 9 different unions.
al-qeada. It's going to place heavy rocks at the base of the offshore wind project to stabilize them when they put these down. And it's going to protect it against erosion. Be the first vessel of its kind that's made in America. America.
This is something that's like one of the late stages in Civ is when you can get the offshore wind farms. That's like
Mm.
late energy stage. That's some advanced shit.
American operated.
And that's funny because we weren't even talking about, for the longest time, the plan has been that the wind farms need to be in the center where like nobody is, the Great Plains area.
Yeah.
Right? But all those people hate clean energy, so he's like, fuck them, put it in the ocean.
And the rocks will come from American quarries and be loaded at American ports. Steel for vessels being made by the United States steelworkers in Indiana. The engine will be made in the United States electrical, radio, and machine workers in Pittsburgh. The crew is going to be American Marine mariners from Seafarers International Union.
Every proper name he's mentioned has been a union.
Themselves will be as tall as the buildings in Center City, Philadelphia. That's how big they are. And the blades, 110 yards long. I went to see them being made in Colorado. It's breathtaking. And I might add, notwithstanding what the other guy said, windmills do not cause cancer. Look, some folks may not know.
Is that a dig at RFK? Or who said windmills cause cancer? That has to be an RFK thing.
Maybe. Could have been Trump.
What the other guy said, so.
It could be Trump.
Trump probably said something stupid along those lines.
It sounds like something dumb Trump would say.
It sounds like something RFK would say, though.
That is also true.
But I don't know if he's acknowledging RFK, which he shouldn't.
No.
There was a law in 1920 called the Jones Act that was passed. It says ships traveling between U.S. ports have to be American built, American owned, and have American crews. But there's some content to rely on ships built overseas without American crews to operate them. Again, not on my watch. We're strengthening American shipbuilding, supporting good union jobs, and bringing offshore wind supply chains back home. Before the pandemic, supply chain wasn't a phrase that most Americans ever thought about. But today,
this is the number one thing I was saying about the pandemic is like, God, I hope it makes people realize we need to produce everything here.
Yes.
After delays in parts and products, everybody knows what a supply chain means and why they matter. Our Investing in America agenda is bringing our clean energy supply chains home. Since I took office, we've seen more than $16 billion in new offshore wind investments, including 18 offshore wind vessels.
That's a lot of money.
12 manufacturing facilities and 13 ports. Today, we announced the first ever offshore wind sale in the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to the Gulf. Think I'm kidding. Ain't seen nothing yet. Across the Delaware River in Paulsboro, New Jersey, workers are welding the steel foundation for another large-scale wind project. That's going to create more than 3,000 good-paying jobs. A project off the coast of New York will use a vessel built in the shipyards of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida, rely on electrical substations, engineered in Kansas and made in Texas. The Inflation Reduction Act offers tax credits for projects using American-made iron, steel, manufactured projects, so our clean energy future will be made in America. I mean it. And all this investment, you know.
This is some, I mean, like I said, like the chips coming home and producing chips, like, was already, like, that would be enough. That would be like the best thing that a president has done for a very long time, because we need to be, not we need to be, but as far as like the typical like apparatus, America wants to be in control of green energy like they are in control of other types of energy. This is why Saudi Arabia is putting so much money into hydrogen fuel cells and chemicals.
I know it better than any group of people I could be talking to. All this investment means good paying jobs here at home. Here at home. We're making sure these new jobs come free and fair, and the ability to join a union if you're not already in a union. I made a commitment that I'd be the most pro-union president in American history. I'm keeping that promise. Let me explain why. I met with the Business Roundtable, the leading businessmen in the nation. They asked me why. I said, because it's good for you. I tell business all the time, union workers are the best in the world. You don't just say, by the way, I want to be an electrician. Here's my license. The young woman you just heard, she's not an electrician, but guess what? 4 to 5 years of apprenticeship. It's like going back to school. It's like going to college for 4 years. You do the job right, they do it on time, and long term it costs less than non-union labor. And here at the Philly shipyard, over 1,000 union workers will be employed on site, like metal workers, boiler makers, electricians. In fact, this shipyard runs an apprentice program giving workers the skills to do these jobs. They can earn up to $100,000 a year, and you don't need a college degree. Just a few years ago, this shipyard was down to a handful of workers. As these guys know, I've been coming here for a long, long time, since 1973, when it was a Navy shipyard. And a lot of us wondered whether it would still be here, didn't we? A lot of us wondered 15, 10, 12 years ago. Well, let me tell you, it's coming alive again.
15, 10, 12, it seems like an odd series of numbers.
Yeah.
Just this week, my administration completed a review of a potential wind project off the coast of Rhode Island and Connecticut. It's part of the National Project Labor Agreement with the building trades. I want to thank AFL-CIO President Liz Schuler for personally getting that done. Together, we're transforming the country, not just through manufacturing, but also rebuilding our infrastructure. We need to have the best infrastructure in the world if we're going to lead the world. We used to be number one. We now rank number 13 in the world. Highways, bridges, how can we be number one in the world? Economically. You can have the best economy without...
You know what he's not talking about here? 15-minute cities and banning cars and things like that.
Good.
You know, like if Americans already are attached to their cars, their investments in their cars, they should have like roads as nice as like the Autobahn, you know?
Yeah.
Without having the best infrastructure. So the bipartisan infrastructure law, which a number of our colleagues did vote for on both sides of the aisle, I've already announced 35,000 projects in 4,500 communities all across America, proving we can do big things. By the way, right here in Philly, we're going to build $1 billion tunnels underneath the water as you go from Amtrak station heading north. It's going to increase the speeds of trains. Be able to go through it 100 miles an hour instead of 30. And guess what? When you get to point A to point B and you can do it on rail.
Oh, here we go. Now he's talking about 15-minute cities. Here we go. Super trains are coming.
Leave your car home. People leave their cars home. Saves money. Saves the environment. There's no better example than here in Philadelphia. A tanker truck crashed, closed a key stretch of I-95 last month. You remember that? 150,000 vehicles crossed that part of the highway. 150,000 every single day. With leadership of Governor Shapiro, Casey, Fetterman, Boyle, Kenny, it opened in less than 2 weeks. Hear that? 2 weeks. Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. I mean, think about it. All kidding aside, when we were saying that,
it's because they had union labor do it too. Because remember, like it got bumped up multiple times. First, it was going to be this long, then it was going to be 2 weeks, and they're like, actually, it's going to be 12 days. We'll get it done tomorrow. You know, they finished above their quota twice. You know, like they had to reevaluate the quota to make it shorter twice.
Yeah.
On the bridge, people are looking at us like, oh God, here they go again. It's a record time, and guess what? Used materials from right here in Pennsylvania, all that crushed glass, all that base. I mean. And it was done with union work. Also announced $78 million for safety improvements along Roosevelt Boulevard. here in Philly, from North Broad to the Bucks County line. Between 2012 and 2021, accident along that stretch of
Is he reading off a
highway
teleprompter?
killed
Yeah. Hey, you'll see them. They're very interesting, but like you'll see them if they punch out whenever politicians are doing these things.
They're
like,
the clear
glass.
screens, right?
Yes, they're glass. So you can't see the words from behind, but they can. They're very cool tech.
and 19 people.
And camera teleprompters work the same way because you film through the prompter, you know?
Yeah, it's like a mirror, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So it works the same way. So like people can't see through them, but he can see the prompters.
And I don't know how many injured. 119 died. Nearly 1 in 3 Philadelphians lives within a mile of there. I mean, thousands of families will benefit when we make that a hell of a lot safer. Removing every single lead pipe in America, including an estimated 20,000 lead pipelines here.
I think also the architecture behind them is very interesting. Like this rail is like even bent, you know, there's like a sign out here. This is just a plywood thing, like construction, you know? But yeah, like plywood, you know?
Yeah, that's
like,
all it would be.
And this looks like this is wood too, this flag, you know?
Mm.
And so it's like he's literally underneath a bridge. Like it's such an interesting aesthetic to choose because it's like you know like it goes with the theme of what he's talking about. You know, it's like the Rudy Giuliani when he gave the press conference from the parking lot, except intentional.
In Philly, and thousands of lead pipes in school fountains all across America, including here in Philadelphia.
Wait.
They're a risk to everyone's health, especially our.
He's talking about getting rid of them, getting rid of the pipes.
There's lead pipes in the drinking fountains?
Yeah. So he's talking about how he's talking about how they got rid of them. Let me go back. I got too stuck up talking about the infrastructure behind him.
19 people. And I don't know how many injured. 119 died. Nearly 1 in 3 Philadelphians lives within a mile of there. I mean, thousands of families will benefit when we make that a hell of a lot safer. Removing every single lead pipe in America, including an estimated 20,000 lead pipelines here in Philly, and thousands of lead pipes in school fountains all across America.
That's wild.
Well, the thing is that lead pipes are like perfectly safe until they're not, you know? Yeah. Like as long as you're like regulating them and like doing the right type of maintenance. The thing is like Flint, they took a shortcut, right? So Flint, what actually happened is that they reinstalled new pipes.
Okay.
So these new pipes weren't lead. Oh. So then they took a shortcut where they basically needed to dump some side of product to flush through the system, right?
Yeah.
That product then got into the lead structure where they weren't supposed to leach into, even though they warned that it could. And it could destroy. So it destroyed all the new pipes that they put in because it leached the lead into those pipes and then threw lead throughout the entire plumbing structure of Flint.
Interesting.
They're a risk to everyone's health, especially our children. We're making investments like this in communities all across the country, in red states, blue states. It doesn't matter. I'm present for everybody. I said that no matter whether they voted for me or against me, I'd make sure we change this.
That's a thing that he's been saying for a while. That's one of his slogans.
A while, yeah.
And like also, if you look at the like Republican strategy, all it is like our country's going to hell. Our country's being destroyed.
Yeah, it's just fear.
Yeah, but he's so to counter it of just being like, look at how nice everything is. And it's going to capitalize because people are coming out of post-COVID. So like the depression is going to be up. People are going to be more enthusiastic and stuff.
Yeah.
See exactly where this money's going. If you're interested, go to invest.gov. Find out what's happening in your community. Because that we talked about, remember Infrastructure Week?
No, nobody remembers that.
Well, we have infrastructure a decade.
No.
It's committed $1.3 trillion. And guess what else? I lowered the federal deficit by $1.7 trillion in the first 2 years. You can do both. You know,
Interesting.
the reason I'm saying this is we've operated on principles that haven't been working. My Invest in America agenda also had another transformative impact. All those members of Congress who voted against the bill suddenly realized it's pretty good, and they're bragging about it. I found it interesting. As you may have seen, apparently 40 million people watched. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the very conservative gentle lady from the state of Georgia, said Biden is doing things like Roosevelt, and it goes on the line as if it created these jobs, and
He's talking about his ad.
I thought that was. I never had an endorsement from her before. But all kidding aside, every single Republican
IRL
voted
shit
against the
posting.
Inflation Reduction.
Well,
And how many are-
because they showed him the ad. He probably watched it once and he's like, I love that.
trying to
That's so funny.
people, and it was in order. The whole reason for the act was to repeal the clean energy provisions. That's why they voted no. It didn't stop them from claiming credit. Now the billions of dollars and thousands of jobs are coming to their states. Then there's this distinguished senator from Alabama, a former coach of a winning football team, University of Alabama, Senator Tuberville.
Tommy Tuberville.
The one
Alabama.
blocking the nominations of America's finest military leaders, jeopardizing our national security over domestic social issues. Well, he's also strongly opposed to the bipartisan infrastructure law. And now I listen to him on television. He voted against it, and here's what he says now. Great to see Alabama receive critical funds to boost ongoing broadband efforts. Thought it was a bad idea to invest in that. But now it's coming to Alabama, and hot damn, boy, it's a good thing.
Hot
Look,
damn.
I'm glad the senator's coming around on the infrastructure law, but I'm not going to let up until he comes around in the critical military nominations as well. Let me close with this. I'm not here to declare victory. We got a long way to go in the economy. But I'm here to say we have more work to do. We have a plan that's turning things around pretty quickly. Bidenomics is just another way of saying restore the American dream. 40 years of trickle-down economic and Democrat and Republican administrations.
He just said, make America great again.
Limited the dream to those at the top. But I believe every American willing to work hard should be able to get a job no matter where they live, in the heartland, in a small town, in big cities, to raise their kids on a good paycheck, keep roofs over their head where they grew up, be able to stay there. My dad used to have an expression. I swear to God, this was an expression as kids growing up. He said, and this is how he'd say, he said, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity.
It's about making your boss
respect.
richer.
It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. And he meant it. He never got to go to college, but he meant it. He worked like hell. Jobs are about dignity. That's the American dream. That's Bidenomics, and rooted in what always worked best for this country. Investing in America. Investing in Americans. Because when you invest in our people, you strengthen the middle class. We see stronger economic growth that benefits everybody. The rich still do very well, and they should be able to do well. When I-95 shut down last month, nobody thought we'd have the back open in less than 2 weeks. With American ingenuity, American workers, we proved everybody wrong. I don't know about you, but it filled me with pride about what we can do when we work together. We work together on that project. The same will be true here in Philly Shipyard with the clean energy future we're building all across America. It will be transformational. And for thousands of families who rely on good jobs for their project, these projects create. It means restoring a sense of pride, a sense of hope, a sense of dignity that got lost somewhere along the way. The longest time we've been told to give up manufacturing in America. How many times have you heard, read the paper the last 25 years? We can never lead the world of manufacturing. Well, we are, and
Nobody
we
reads
will.
the paper.
We'll never believe that.
Technically,
Showing your age here, Joe.
technically, the paper has just moved to the phone, right?
Yeah.
So they'll still call it like it's the same newspaper. They still will call it a newspaper company, even though they don't even do newsprint. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I know. Who's
but
making
yes,
this funny?
nobody knows what a newspaper is, bro. In my news class, they made us do like one assignment on them, right? But like, it was the desks that were only like the half desk, right? So you only have like this much room, and then they give you an entire newspaper that's like bigger than the fucking desk.
That's right, because the American papers are massive.
Yeah,
That's
insane.
funny.
And they're so thick. And then it's like you have to like manage this on your tiny desk. Worst assignment. I've never believed it, and I don't think most of you did. This nation used to lead the world of manufacturing. We're going to do it again. I know the people of this country, and I can say honestly, I have never been more optimistic about America's future than I am this very day. I swear to God. I've long said to other world leaders, I know almost every one of them personally, met them. It's never been a good bet to bet against America. It's never, never, never. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity if we work together. So God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. This is a new day. We're more work to do. We're gonna get it done. Thank you. All right, what did we think?
Yeah, it's mid.
I mean, he's mid, you know.
I mean,
like
he's very.
His State of the Union address was much better. His Ireland speech was much better, but that was one of the better ones we've seen of this candidacy. And it was mostly stuff we've already heard from before, from other people like Gavin Newsom and stuff about like this many jobs, more in 2 years than anyone else, you know. But specifically, like talking about the offshore wind farms, I hadn't heard about that. Talked about the new ports and shipping stuff, and what's important there too is that the infrastructure bill. It's not the federal government like doing anything. They allocate the resources and funding for local governments to invest locally. So, you know, it's a lot better than like something that like is trying to like come up from the top from an executive order. Oh, there's more. He's got something else to say.
You must have known you were wrong when your fingers were dipped inside me.